Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody from all around the world, hello and welcome back to another live stream edition of the Welch Report with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Let's make some noise, everybody. Clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We're back, we're here, we're live, and we're all excited to talk about all those stuff involving the world of boxing and beyond in the sports landscape. We want to hear from you in every regard of the fight, in every regard of life, and in every regard of our show on today. We can't wait to hear what you have to say in response to Anthony Joshua winning in a scary fashion, going up against Lexa Perenga to seal the deal for what will be a monumental makeup in terms of a big-time fight for Tyson Fury and AJ now coming down the line later on in the year. Also reacting to, in light of his loss, Spence officially retiring from boxing and being done with his illustrious career at the welterweight and now 154-pound division. It is done. The big fish has now swam into calmer waters as he ends his career. We want to hear your thoughts on his career, on his whole tenure at 147, and in all honesty, how you feel about the law? Because I know some people, there's a lot of fans about Spence that this is a gut-wrenching turnabout of circumstances because everybody galvanized around Spence, but he just couldn't get it done. We're going to talk about that fight and so much more on this show with you on today. We thank you for tuning in. We thank you for listening. We hope you're having a phenomenal time. And hey, if you would be so kind, go ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. That's right. Be a part of the hottest show in all of the globe, right here on YouTube and on every podcasting platform imaginable. You can rate us 5 stars on Apple, Spotify, you name it. We are there. Also, be sure to go through, like I said before, leave a like on the video. One like makes a world of difference. And if you can support the channel, we got Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, as well as super chats and super gifts, stickers and the like, all for you to help invest into the show. Give all to the empire, because we can't do this without you. We're like PBS. We're funded by the fans that watch this show, so we hope you can support our channel. And please, if you would be so kind, do the most important thing, which is to go and share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together, all with you and your support as we continue to grow as a unit on this channel. We already got people in the chat, and please put your chats in the comment section because we do want to hear from you. Like with Beat Skull, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for showing up and showing out on our wait, hold on. Where's my am I had y'all muted. There we go. Now we can show up. Let me see. Disrespectful how you got Tank in the opening and not Shakur. Hey, but hold on a second now. I took a long time making that intro. I made that intro roughly a year ago. Things have changed amongst that time. We'll look to make changes to the intro as needed. People, look, that was made a long time ago to try to go and add to this show. Don't take that as what I have as my current viewpoint in the boxing landscape. Be clear. But yeah, we're going to get around to making some shifts to that. Don't worry. We will. But let me see. Arrow had a great career, but after that car accident, it was downhill. Now, look, I'm telling you, we're going to have a lot to talk about with the reality of what caused the downfall of Errol Spence's career in light of this now confirmed retirement by him in the ring. Also, let me see, P. Liddy, what's going on? How you doing? Salute to you. Also, Love King, salute to you as well. Salute to both of you all. We appreciate you tuning in on the show. I told you Spence would lose and retire. Hey, look, you called it right. You did call it right. You did. You did. I would be remiss if I didn't give you all your props. All of you who said that this fight was going to end in Errol Spence's retirement, you all called it right on the button. I got to give it to you. I was hoping we'd be wrong. And I even picked Errol Spence to win out of the sheer need to see him succeed one more time, thinking maybe the ring was to help him. Maybe the outside of the ring lack of activity with being able to recuperate and recover from whether you want to blame the car accident, whether you want to blame the alcohol and drinking that he self-admitted was an issue. All of that with 3 years out, maybe he had been able to go through and reinvent himself physically and recover fully. That was the hope. But lo and behold, it didn't happen at all. And we saw Errol Spence Jr. put up a valiant effort but lose to Tim Sue. And in fact, I don't know why this change that I made didn't save. But I need to go and make sure we put this title card right. So let me see. Spence. There we go. After loss to Sue. Again, I'm trying to make this so we have the proper titles for this show underway. But that's what happened. That's essentially what went down. Errol Spence Jr. has fought his last fight and has essentially hung up his gloves after his loss to Tim Sue at 160 pounds. And it was, and for everybody who came and watched the fight live, we thank you for showing up and tuning in and being a part of our live stream. It was a joy to have you all here as we reacted to everything on the night. It was a pleasure. But yeah, Errol Spence, he put up an incredibly valiant, heart-filled effort trying to get this win against Tim Sue. And between the first 4 rounds, there was an argument he might have won the first 3. Genuinely. Now, granted, Tim Sue, slow starter like we talked about. Errol Spence Jr. looked incredibly rusty, looked incredibly losing a lot of technique in the way he was able to punch, off balance, very much off center, wasn't able to really find his grounded footing that we had seen him able to do countless times before when he had fought, boxed, and beat up people all throughout his entire career. It really felt like the rust was indeed there. Maybe the wear and tear of his actual ability was indeed showing. But then, as the fight went on, you saw spurts of Errol Spence looking a little bit sharper, a little bit better. The combinations were when he was actually able to get his balance and grounded feet, he was actually able to throw pretty decently. Pretty good, actually. But it was to no avail because he couldn't hurt Tim Sue. He couldn't keep that consistency of technique up. And it was just clear as day, this man just is not able to do it anymore, even if he wanted to. And it got to a point where he was like, man, we really wanted to hope, but it just couldn't work out. Errol Spence is done. Errol Spence was done. And Errol Spence now has nothing else to give. And we hope, for the sake of himself and for the legacy that he's already left, he doesn't come back, because he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. And if he does, it'll be worse than what we saw on this night in this loss. Let me see. When Errol was arguing with Tank at Frank Martin's presser, his speech was sharp on point. Now his speech is slurred and slow. Tim Sue knew something was wrong with and showed class by not trying to hurt Errol Spence. And we touched on that a little bit on the live fight call. Errol Spence could have been put in a bad situation against Tim Sue, especially after round 7. When we were seeing Tim Sue really starting to fully heat up that motor and now moving like a Terminator, walking through the water that was Errol Spence's body attack. And it was seeming to no avail. Errol Spence had no real ability to hurt him. Well, excuse me. He did crack him with the straight left. That was one of the best punches of the night, outright. I'll say that when he did that, I think it was in round 2 or 3, just about when he finally got a good shot going, we were like, oh man, that actually had some real effect. The sweat flew, his head knocked back. It seemed like everything was going to be maybe turning around, but not. And it didn't turn out that way. And Tim Sue was just able to consistently walk forward, be the walk and stalk type of fighter that he is, continually apply pressure, continually throw 2-punch combinations that then opened up into 3 and 4-punch combinations because he really was able to feel the lack of vulnerability that Errol Spence was throwing his way. It was getting the better of the exchanges. Even if Errol Spence was trying to be more active, the heavier, more damaging, more flush shots were always landed almost every time by Tim Sue. And he could have hurt him. It was a couple times that Errol Spence Jr. pulled a little bit of Deontay Wilder, spun himself out trying to throw a shot at Tim Sue, overextending, and next thing you know, he got caught with the hook. He got caught with the hook that I thought was going to be shades of Wilder versus Jang, and he was going to get put to sleep. I was petrified. Y'all know the exact sequence I'm talking about when Errol Spence almost got put out with an uppercut by Tim Sue. He was completely in a vulnerable state. He did that about 3 times in this fight. It was just the better man won. Straight up, the better man won without any need for controversy. Right? Let's be completely honest. Tim Sue could have gone, especially in those later rounds, and tried to do more. But Yeah, last round, Errol Spence at worst could have had a draw, depending on how you had the judging. But even still, it wouldn't have been nothing because he didn't have it. And Tim Tszyu, we talked about his regression as a boxer, his regression as a talent, his ability to not be nearly what he was when he was one of the better fighters at 154 during the time of him and Charlo reigning over the division. It was clear cut. Tim Tszyu is not the same brother anymore, but he definitely had more in the tank, and it's because of the activity. The activity of Tim Tszyu clearly showed, hey, I might be a shell of what I was, but Lord knows I at least got some rhythm. I at least have some familiarity with how I need to operate in the ring. And just like Errol Spence was talking about when he was talking in training, I'm feeling stuff I ain't felt before in a long time. I don't remember stuff being like this when I was training. Showing up said I don't remember stuff being like this when I was fighting. And it's time for me to wrap it up and go into the sunset. And Tim Tszyu did what he needed, even with the drastically less skilled fighter that he is now. Just being able to walk forward and do damage was enough. And this helped him to go and push back into the limelight of potential bigger fights at 154. We got to look into the future of this action afterwards, because there's still more to this. There's still more than just the fight and stuff they had to talk about. And we're going to touch on Errol Spence's legacy as a whole. And again, get to the blame of what exactly caused the downfall. And I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. But him, in terms of Tim Tszyu, the winner, we got to get some props too. You have saved your career in some respects. You have. You have. We were saying this was a do or die situation. You lose against Errol Spence, your career is done in most people's eyes. Yeah, it's time to wrap it up. You win against him, you would have the biggest recognizable name on your career under your belt without question. That is undeniably true. It would be. And that would open up doors to have people have you on their radar yet again. After you were initially not seen as very much viable in the uber competitive ranks and in the uber stardom ranks of this division within the top 10, and with fighters like Virgil Ortiz, Fundor, Boots Ennis, Xander Zayas, even Boachuk and Adams. You weren't anywhere near their level of not just talent, but recognition. In this current position where we want to gun towards you, you add something. Now with this win, you do add something to the landscape of this division. You beat Errol Spence. Somebody wants to be able to take you out because you got a big name on your resume, and you probably are having at least one more big-time money-making fight you can make. But staving off the potential that you won't even get close to the championship ranks anymore, now that is all well and good gone. You at least have some hope, which is good, which is fine. Now, are you going to win? Probably not. Who are you going to fight? It's going to be drastically different to dictate that result. I would say the biggest fight for him right now that he could get that would be a close affair would be Charlo. Because both of y'all are in the same boat, but you actually have some momentum, some victory, and some real cachet because of this win against Errol Spence, bringing in a big name as the last winner of your resume. I can see that. And again, Keith Thurman, because of what we just seen with him and Fundora, that will be a fight in Australia. People probably say we want to see what happens. And we can see it. Shoot, he's talking about he wants to fight Arizona Lara at 160, a significantly less stacked division with a whole host of names that might be beatable. Again, it could be a whole new division that he just isn't able to compete with because we're at 160 with people that are active, like what we saw with Peters on this night, on the same card night, and others. Could be bad. But at least he gets a shot. And Arizona Lara being the biggest name that he's called out, I want a championship at, maybe he's staying up here. But there's some options there. There's some potential. There's a reality that stuff could shake up. And we could see things happen. That's what Tim Tszyu earned. Errol Spence, the biggest question in regards to, beyond just, is he going to fight again? He's not. Beyond just what is his legacy is set in stone. Now the question becomes, well, what caused this to happen? What caused this to happen? What is the reason that we're dealing with Errol Spence Jr. having this much of a decline with fall from grace in boxing? And I would say, if people want to bring up the rumors, the car crash, it was the fight with Terrence Crawford, it was the alcohol and all that stuff that he was drinking, not taking care of his body in the bigger portion of his prime, it can be in a bunch of things that people may feel. Honestly, I think all of it attributed to it. I do. We can say, if you want to say the car crash affected him, I'm not going to deny that it didn't. Granted, he did beat Danny Garcia, and Ugas stopped Ugas after the car crash. Granted, he did do that going into that Terrence Crawford fight. But on the whole, I think all of it took effect. I think all of it changed the course of Spence's career going forward as a trickle-down effect. And again, it might not have been as bad what we saw tonight if he did not have this long layoff. If he didn't have the long layoff. I truly do believe if he had not been 3 years out the ring on top of all the other stuff, which again, even despite the car crash, he looked like he could still fight. Going into that fight with Terrence Crawford, you can say, yes, he was injured going into it. Fine, he even revealed it. That's perfectly okay. Hey, if that's the case, I do wish you had said, I'm injured, let me recover, and let me come back and we can fight. Again, that was after the Ugas fight, not directly after the car crash. 2 fights after the car crash is when he got injured before that fight with Terrence Crawford. But if he had been able to just after Crawford get 1 fight a year, just 1, it didn't have to be against a uber competitive guy, just 1 fight. I don't think this degradation in talent would have been so drastic. I don't think so. That's the one thing I miss, or that's the one regret I have with this whole tenure. Why didn't Errol Spence just have some level of action going on? Because clearly, that layoff, he was saying this will help him. It clearly didn't. It clearly didn't. And this is why I was questioning years ago. Hey, brother, we've seen you 2.5 years out the ring. You said that you needed to recover from your body and all that stuff, even from the fight. I understand. But at this point, there is some concern. You do need to get some action. Because now you're getting into dangerous territory with it being almost 3 years at the time that I had said this, and you haven't even touched a gym, let alone gotten a fight against somebody, even a bum, at 154. And you're talking about fighting, you wanted to fight Fundor. At that point in time, what the work? Just to me, it was like this can end bad. And what happened. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Listen to me, it's just frustrating. Let me see. I think Brandon Adams versus Tim Tszyu in Australia would be good. It would. Granted, it would. Now, it's just the question of, will Tim Tszyu stay at 154? Or will he just move up to 160? It's really leaning towards he might be moving up to 160. He might be going to middleweight. Because of the different landscape, because of how he fought at 160 against Errol Spence, he may feel comfortable. And he's talking about, I would love to get a title up there. So it seems like his eyes are going and trying to fight the likes of Lara. That's what he's gunning for. It looks like he's gunning for Lara. It really does look like he's gunning for the oldest champion in boxing right now, who has been knocking people out left, right, and center since he got up to that division. And this is a buddy who was initially seen as somebody that was a very elusive, point-scoring, counterpuncher type of fighter that was aiming to go and be movement-oriented, trying to go and be slick with his feet, turn you around, and put you on a dangerous road to confusion because you just don't know where he's at. In terms of in the ring, he can be here, there, and everywhere. Now he's turning into a more flat-footed, grounded, powerful counterpuncher. That this brother can put your lights out legitimately with 1 punch. It's insane. It's one of the most drastic turnarounds of a boxer I've ever seen. After losing your feet, you're still turned into a whole new fighter while still keeping some of the traits that made you you in Arizona Law. I don't think Tim Tszyu can beat him, but Tim Tszyu thinks he can, so he's going to be going for it. But yeah, Adams, I would love to see it. Boachuk coming off of, I think, multiple losses, I think that might be even more feasible as a fight that we could see take place. But in all honesty, I think 160 is going to be the biggest goal to have. Let me see. Tim can beat Khamzat Shiraz. Ooh, from what I've seen over the weekend. Okay, now hold on now. I don't think so there. Hold on. Now, we can talk about the rest of the events on the night, like with the whole Anthony Joshua card with Paringa. This is almost a perfect segue going into talking about said fight. But he can't beat Shiraz. No, sir, because remember, Shiraz is at 168. Tim Tszyu beat a clearly washed and ready to retire Spence Jr. I'm not going to say this as a dictating factor that because he beat Spence, he can now go and beat Shiraz or anybody else that is of that caliber at the higher divisions. I'm not saying that because Tim Tszyu showed up is not that good. Tim Tszyu was going to have it's not going to be easy with the balance, and though he didn't show it on the night last weekend, to be clear, he did not look great last weekend. Shiraz, no, he did not. It was a bad situation. It had a lot of people questioning his resolve, or rather his likelihood to be able to get the titles at 168 because of the lackluster performance in his first title defense. It was not great at all. The power didn't seem like anything that we had seen, didn't seem like anything that we had experienced before in his career. To the Shiraz, it seemed like it was a shell of what we had seen from when he fought against Berlanga. Now people are starting to fuel rumors. Hey, maybe Berlanga was right. Maybe Shiraz did have something in his gloves, and that's why he wasn't able to have any power on this night, because we thought he was going to be able to knock out his opponent. And next thing you know, Shiraz is struggling. Struggling in the sense of a very lackluster performance against a fighter that we were really expecting. You should be able to win this pretty handily. Shiraz's win did not do him any favors. This is why I say every win is not a good win in boxing. You can be put in the worst situation even if you get a W because of how you performed. That's what Shiraz is experiencing right now. We don't think this brother, or people are starting to look at this brother, as really not up to par in where we thought he should be as a talent. Now, saying that Tim Tszyu can beat him, I think that's a step way too far because Tim Tszyu is significantly worse than Shiraz as a fighter. He is. He is. He absolutely is. Even now, I'm telling you, Tim Tszyu's not beating Shiraz. But Shiraz, another bad performance like this, is going to have a lot of people thinking, brother, you ain't beating him, Billy. You ain't beating Martinez. You sure enough ain't beating Canelo. And we might want to see that rematch with Edgar Berlanga. Because maybe there's some lack of validity to the scaling of your talent versus his talent. Y'all may be closer than we expected. We may need to see a rematch to make sure we weren't fooled by what we witnessed on that night. Maybe so. Let me see. Also, Sergey, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for showing up and showing out on our show. Welcome to the live stream. Hopefully you're enjoying the Welch Report. Welcome back. I ain't seen you in a minute. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that we got going on. Right now we're talking about Spence's loss to Tim Tszyu, and more specifically, what Tim Tszyu going forward, what he can do next, and kind of going into, or get ready to go into the fight card of where's it? Anthony Joshua KOing Paringa on the night. And this is a perfect segue, so we can kind of switch into these gears right now as we're going into the next topic of discussion. I'm going to still read your chats, don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying to make sure I got this thing set up and looking correct on our title card. But let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions. Where's it at? Let me see. Chone, what's going on with you, Chone? Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing out. Thank you for tuning into the show. We appreciate you. Tim Tszyu is small. Yeah, at 160. Yeah, I think Tim Tszyu is going to be I don't think he's gonna be trying to fight the same way, but I think it's gonna be smaller. I do think it's gonna be smaller. 154 and 168 is a bigger difference. No, it is a big difference. It is. Don't believe me? Watch Charlo versus Canelo. He felt it's a big difference. It's a different world. That's why we were saying that Crawford jumping from 154 to 168 and beating Canelo was so legendary. Not just because of the fighter, but also because this was a substantial level jump to a whole different stratosphere of physical ability that Crawford was able to win against, that normally it should not be feasible. Normally. But it happens. That's what makes it so. That's what made that so impressive. Let me see. By the way, did you watch Zuffa, bro? Berlanga fight was fireworks. The Berlanga fight, we're talking about Berlanga right now. Again, on the Joshua and Paringa KO, the undercard of Zuffa and all that stuff, kind of all melting into one is what we're discussing with this topic and title card. And Berlanga with fireworks on Zuffa, though, again, he got knocked down. He did get knocked down again. He did get put on his butt again, tapping his gloves and all, trying to get back up in the ring. But it turned into a very intense war that saw him getting the KO and ultimately flinching at his opponent while he was on the ground. Why he did that, I don't know. Unless there was some uber bad blood that I didn't recognize. That seemed like a little bit uncalled for. I don't know why he would even try to act that tough in that situation. Unless there's a story, I don't know. All I do know is that this win for Berlanga was not just much needed, but it still sets him up for fights as a contender at 168. And the fight itself was fireworks, but would that lead to him being successful against the other names? Right now, I can promise you, after what we saw with Berlanga and after what we saw with Shiraz, there's going to be a slow swelling of calling out for that fight to happen again. I promise you. I promise you. Even though I feel Shiraz is significantly a better fighter than the likes of Berlanga. Significantly better. I still know the boxing public is not going to take this lack of good performance against the likes of Shiraz lightly. And they're going to look at what we saw Berlanga have in his fireworks display. Even though many people may not know his opponent, they know the fight. Or at least they've seen the fight. And they can say, hey, maybe it was a fluke. Mark my words, people are going to be calling for that rematch more than you think. I can almost guarantee you. Let me see. Boot's going to be at 160 in 18 months anyway. Maybe. Maybe. Is it going to become undisputed by that time? Hopefully. But the whole point is him moving up. We want to say he's going to move up and handle business and do what he needs to do. At the same breath, we've seen this story before, and sometimes it doesn't fall like what we want it to fall. If he does, perfect. And if he goes to 160, it'll be easy pickings, because most likely 160 outside of Laura without Boachuk on the roster is substantially easy to handle. Substantially. It's for the 160 for Boots, with the talent up there, though the size is bigger, the skill set pool is very much the high up is the high up. And what the world is on my? The word is that? Oh, never mind. I thought I saw something. So we're good. We're good. But as I was saying, when Boots is at 160, he wins. It's going to most likely be a cakewalk up there. Most likely. Because the skill set pool is going to be so much more diminished. For Tim Tszyu, that skill set pool might be a bigger problem potentially because of how much he's degraded. For Boots coming up, yeah, it should be easy pickings. And in 18 months, he might wait a little bit longer because of the fact that it's not going to be nearly as easy. But his biggest issue right now is Josh Kelly. First off and foremost, before we even talk about 160, let's make sure he handles his business here at 154 first. Because I don't want him moving up before actually taking advantage of all these fights that we can potentially see. Let me see. I feel like his stock went down, but who knows? But who knows that he may be better for him in the long run to improve and not get complacent. That's true. That's true. But again, our assumptions would say that the stock went down and correctly went down. Assumptions would say that. But on the whole, yeah, it might work out. It might. Blankovich, Eubank, or Caleb Plant. Now those are good names. Specifically, Eubanks at 168. With him being weight drained at 160. Yeah. That, I'm fine with it. Caleb Plant versus Berlanga. I'm surprised that fight was never made sooner. Than what we saw, or sooner than what we've seen as they were in close proximity. Remember, Caleb Plant and Berlanga were also in the mix of that Canelo sweepstakes with Jaime Munguia at one point in time, and I'm so shocked that they never actually faced off against each other. This will be the perfect time. In my eyes, this will be the perfect time to see what can take place. Let me see. If it's just to get, it's just that if get hyped, you underperform and win a lackluster 5-7 or 8-4 decision, you will always be targeted no matter who you are, and that's how it should be. That's fair. I understand that sentiment. When we're talking about, again, we're about to go to Joshua and Perenga and all that stuff. But when we're talking about Shiraz, it wasn't just the closeness of the fight. 5-7, 8-4. We've seen those decisions before. The issue is, if you watch that fight, there are clearly things that we were watching with the likes of Shiraz. He should not have struggled against his opponent. He should not. The opponent he faced off. In fact, let me make sure I pull up his name correctly. So I can give you exactly who we're talking about. Because I'm telling you right now. Is it Simon Zachberger? In respect to Simon Zachberger, he shouldn't. Hamzat Shiraz, it should have been a 9-3 type of win, where Simon really wasn't able to gain any substantial momentum on what this fight could turn into. Yes, it's a boxing game. Anything can happen. At the same time, Shiraz was clearly supposed to have a defense that was going to be, even if it wasn't shock and awe, dominant in near totality. Rather than we're seeing you being pushed to a situation where it looks like you're having some trouble with what he brings to the table. And it looks like you're having issues with the style where, as the longer fighter, that's one of the better people using his reach at this division, who's supposed to be touted as not just a power puncher, but a really good fundamental boxer. Your fundamentals were not helping you to really expand that gap in the same definitive nature that we wanted to see. And so that leads us to say maybe there is some issue. We know Adames can give you that level of trouble. We know Carlos Adames can give you that level of frustration. Yes. But this guy isn't that. And it should have been a very, not easy, but a very deliberate fight where we saw the levels clearer than what we saw in this fight. You versus him, where you rank versus where he ranks. It should have been different. It should. The fact that it wasn't, or the fact that it was so much more close, that's what has us frustrated. Or that's what has me asking these questions. And so, you're right. But the deeper context as to why you're right is why this is so significant. And Shiraz, he crazy up, he got a lot to prove. Let me see. Boots is going to make Josh quit, or Josh Kelly quit boxing. Well, I don't think he's going to make him quit boxing. But Josh Kelly may be in for a rude awakening. But we're going to address that later on in the show. But let me see what Sean had to say. I want your opinion on Fury Joshua happening on MSG, or in MSG, and not in, I want your opinion on Fury versus Joshua happening in MSG. And ain't that kind of a forget you to the UK fans who've been waiting for almost 12 years for this fight to happen? And you are absolutely right. And then, now we can transition fully into Joshua versus Perenga. Now we can transition fully. Because now, the very question that you just posed, this fight happening in the UK or MSG over here in the United States is all because Anthony Joshua knocked out Joshua Pringa. Now, to answer your question, before we get into the fight itself, yeah, the very fact that Fury versus AJ is being talked about not in the UK, but in the US is a slap in the face. You want to know why? Because US fans do not care about this fight nearly as much. If this was 5 years ago, you may have an argument. If this was when it was unified versus one belt champion, Fury versus Joshua, and they could fight for undisputed, you might have a conversation. When both of them were at the top of the boxing world as the two clear-cut leading faces of the heavyweight division and the glamour division, you may have a way better argument. But we in the States have lost our interest in really wanting to see that fight happen. The majority of fans are just surprised that Anthony Joshua won over here in America, not the fact that they're having to fight with him versus Fury. It's whatever luster you think it's had on a global scale has completely been wiped away because we never got the fight. This fight only should happen in the UK and nowhere else. They're not in Saudi Arabia, not in the United States, not in Australia or some neutral ground. It needs to be in the UK. This is a literal all UK war. All UK war. This would be like for me, that's why, like for me, like with Canelo and Benavidez, if that fight took place, I would want it to happen in Mexico. Straight up. Without any questions, because that would be the biggest fight that they would have to offer. It would have enough impact that it could happen in America, sure, but we would want it in Mexico because that is literally what they've been clamoring for. That would be like if Spence versus Crawford happened over in Europe. Why? Because we can sell out and it can be a marquee event and we can make it memorable. It would not be as memorable if it wasn't done over here in the States. This isn't like the Thriller in Manila. It ain't like that. Or Ali and Foreman fighting over in Africa. Ali Boumaier. This ain't like that. Because that's a whole different context. There's a whole different gravity to those fights, to that event, and to what made that happen over there as to why, even with it not being in its quote-unquote home state, it was still so memorable. This is not one of those situations. This needs to happen in the UK. It is the only guaranteed place this fight will sell out, will be marketed to Kingdom Come, will be able to go on the streets and sidewalks of every man, woman, boy, and girl as they're walking by to see this fight happening. This is the only place to have that type of gravity. There's no need to have this over here just because you think you can make more money. I'm going to tell you this, you can't. I'm going to tell you, you're not. It's not going to work out like that. It won't work out like that. Whoever is trying to broadcast this fight and make it so that they can have it over in the U.S. for a fight that has been for over a decade wanted by the UK alone, and they're just ignoring the fact that the U.S. population has lost significant interest in wanting this fight to happen over here. We don't care nearly as much now. I mean, I care about the fight, but we don't care nearly as much as a collective about the gravity or the story or just the fighters themselves. We don't. So guess what? Because of that, you're making a mistake. You're making a huge mistake if you try to do this. It's a shame. But again, this fight is only possible, or this talking point is only possible because Anthony Joshua won against Pringa. And after we break down that fight with Pringa, brother, the only thing I can say is we're going to recap the fight. It was just straight up pandemonium in the worst way possible. We almost got scared for the second time in Joshua's career that he got knocked out just about by an opponent that we thought was going to be easy pickings. First it was Andrew Weeds and now it was Springer. Great day in the morning. Son, when I tell you my heart dropped to my chest watching Anthony Joshua get knocked down for the 2 times in 1 round, thinking that we're about to see Daniel Dubois all over again, Andy Ruiz all over again, in a fight that if he loses here, he needs to go on and retire. I was so concerned. I was so concerned because it's now shown Anthony Joshua in this fight with Pringa is still struggling with the same stuff. He's still struggling with the same stuff when it comes to him as a boxer. Anthony Joshua in this fight is still messing around with not being balanced. AJ still has not learned the yin and yang when it comes to boxing. For him, he's chinny. But even when he's chinny, he still isn't protecting himself like he should be. He got knocked out or knocked down with an uppercut to start this whole avalanche of dire situations. And that's supposed to be the uppercut on the inside is his bread and butter. That is literally one of the best punches he has in his entire arsenal. An uppercut inside the clinch where he's able to go and put his opponents out or start the beginning of the end. That's his mode of getting the ball rolling. And he got caught with his own trick. What the world? Yeah, he's smiling, he's trying to play it off and all that stuff. Brother, you were out for a second. And then you got knocked down again. And we're saying, brother, you, no matter what we can say, we now know this is AJ. He got the knockout. Peringa, after round one, knocked him down twice, but then took his foot off the gas, started boxing backwards, got hit by one flush shot, and then tried to go and play it safe and let Anthony Joshua get some momentum going forward. And when AJ was started going forward, the confidence in his offense came through. The punching power that we had saw against Jake Paul, that we weren't using it as a real means of gauging, but we know he's at least willing to throw. And he showed that more than ever as he walked down Peringa and ultimately caught him with a three-punch combination, ending with a hook around the guard that put Peringa's lights out. Had that brother fallen through the ropes, genuinely, and it ended the show in one go with a clean one-punch KO. Which, credit to him, you got it done. But leading into that, we can only say this is who you are. That training with Usyk is not helping. The training with all the need to be different, using his tricks of the trade, using some of the stuff that we see Usyk have in boxing, it just ain't translating well at all. It's not blending. It's not blending. It is not blending. The only thing that I saw that helped you was you never lost your willingness to want to use your offense. But outside of that, it's just not blending well. And this gets me concerned for that fight with Fury and Joshua. This gets me concerned for that fight with Fury and Joshua. Because Fury and Joshua is a fight that we want to see happen. Yes. But it's a fight that now we were trying to say, well, where are they both in their careers? Who are they in their careers? How can they flow? How can they fight? What do they become now at this stage in their boxing tenure as the clock is winding down? And who exactly can be favored going into this mega all-British war that we've been wanting to see? Who is it? And right now, if we're talking about who should be favored, it should be Anthony Joshua. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. Mulligan. Take that back. No, it shouldn't. It should be Tyson Fury. It should be Tyson Fury. It should be Tyson Fury without a doubt. Tyson Fury should be favored on this night going to fight AJ. Without question. When that fight happens, it should be Fury rated as he can beat him. And if you pick him as knocking him out, I have no issue there. And you know what? It's not just because of the talent that he faced off against. Both of them faced off against really not great talent at all. Not great talent at all. They both got knockouts, yeah. Tyson Fury in round 7, AJ in round 2. Peringa was a more dangerous punching opponent, but still, skill-wise, they were both not great. In terms of the Fury's opponent, watch AJ's opponent in Peringa. We should favor Tyson Fury because he has more in the tank than AJ has right now. He just does. He just does. He just does. He's got Anthony Joshua doesn't have what he needs to beat Tyson Fury now. It's not just because of the chin. It's because of the situations that he gets put in. He has the same problem that we've seen when we were watching and critiquing Deontay Wilder. He doesn't look as Bambi legs in doing it. Or rather, he doesn't look as uncomfortable when doing it. But he's got the same problem as with Deontay Wilder. He can't fight backing up. He can't. Every time he gets pressured, every exit option that he tries to use is the wrong one. When he fought against Poirier, he got knocked down or got knocked into the ropes. Nearly, well, arguably could have been counted as a knockdown, in the same way that we saw when he was trying to back up against Daniel Dubois, stiff-arming him back, trying to keep him at bay, and then got caught with a clean punch that had him careening off balance. There were portions of this fight with Poirier that was a one-to-one recreation of the stuff we had seen against Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. Almost a one-to-one recreation. It was that bad from the standpoint of repetition. We've seen this story before. We've seen it before. And when we're watching this fight with him versus Fury as a preview, those same things are going to be things that can hurt him against Tyson Fury. Because Tyson Fury, he's going to try to maul him. He's going to try to go and steal. Because he can't use his legs in the same way, because he can't box in the same way, he's turned into more of a 290-pound blob of weight that wants to go through and physically control you, physically make you carry him, and then while still keeping the way better stamina, being able to use the bouncing in his legs that he has to go and now point you out, lead into shots, and then set up big things when you do come in close, because now you're hurt, and now I know I can really get you, because I can still put my stuff together. Even if it's not in the same way as what we used to be able to do, I got more in me. Anthony Joshua is still the better power puncher. Anthony Joshua absolutely can be a dangerous sentiment for Tyson Fury to get caught and potentially damaged with. But it's clear that Tyson Fury, with the power that he has drastically more ways that he can go and put AJ in a bad way, in a bad state. And he can do it in a manner that forces AJ to lack the best option in his game, which is moving forward. If he does not move forward at this stage in boxing, he cannot box going backwards. He can't. And he's not going to be able just to stiff arm and keep him at bay like he did against Poirier. And even against Poirier, it didn't work. The only time we saw AJ get some better acclamation in this fight with Poirier was because he went through and caught Poirier, and Poirier stopped punching. And now, okay, I got a green light to do what I need to do. And even when he did that, guess what happened? We saw Anthony Joshua come in with his hands down, just like he did against Daniel Dubois. The same thing that got him knocked out. When he knocked out Poirier, nearly the same way that he set up himself getting KO'd when he fought against Daniel Dubois, was the exact same setup and nearly the exact same corner that he went through to try to catch Poirier. Thankfully, this time it worked, but his hands, instead of being up here, walking down to his opponent, got down here. Not up on the chin, straight up below the chin. Lead in, out, rear hand back, trying to go, okay, I'm going to get you. I'm coming forward now. And it could have been if Poirier threw a right hand there, it could have been the recreation of the exact same issue. If he didn't get so defensive for some reason in round two. There has been no clear signs of fixing problems when it comes to Anthony Joshua. Not at all. No, Usyk has not helped him nearly in the significant way that we thought. Usyk has not made him a different fighter in nearly the way that we thought. Usyk's style, though it has some great elements, for Anthony Joshua right now, it can't stick. AJ regressed back to the stuff that was bad when he got hurt. Go back and watch that fight. He regressed back to the stuff that is bad about him when he got hurt. Hands down, unbalanced and fundamental offense and defense of trying to get yourself still safe and still be powerful. He can't balance them both. Sure, he was using some elements of Usyk, trying to use feints, trying to use head movement and all that stuff, but it fell by the wayside after that second knockdown. He can't keep it up because it's not him. This ain't working. And this is the last hurrah for Anthony Joshua. The only fight I want to see him have from this point on is the fight with Tyson Fury. Yes, he's 36 years old, but at this point in time, anybody else up here, he can get beat by, and most likely will get beat by. And Tyson Fury, I'm picking, would most likely beat him. But that's the last fight for what you have left in your legacy as the fighter of a generation. Formerly, at the heavyweight division, you were leading the hell. This is one of the last chapters in the story. After this, y'all don't want to see you fight no more. Because you are indeed a glass cannon. That's what Anthony Joshua is right now. He's a glass cannon. He's a glass cannon. He is as much a destructive nature to himself as it is to his opponent. It's not because he's undisciplined. It ain't because he doesn't go in the gym. It's because of the fact this man, beyond just, I can get hurt easily. That's not the issue. It's the fact that you keep putting yourself in positions that you get hurt in ways that you shouldn't be hurt. In your own domain, you got rocked with an uppercut when you're supposed to be hitting Paringa with that same uppercut by not giving up leverage and ducking your head down. Because you know that's exactly what you're supposed to do. If somebody tries to duck down in the clinch, you uppercut. And you were the one that made that mistake. And you know better. You kept on not escaping with your hands up, and you keep on trying to use your reach as the best way to get yourself out of dodge, and right now it's not working, and it hasn't been working for over 3 years, and that's how you got clocked and almost put into the ropes. No, and put into the ropes and almost got called a knockdown, leading into the second knockdown of the fight. And then when it's time for you to go and make a new situation, you still go through and you don't keep your hands up defensively, and you now go all offense, completely change modes like a transformer and turn into an all-out attack stance instead of you being safe. And nearly got put into a same situation that had you knocked out by Daniel Dubois. But in all accounts, the last real fight that you had was against Dubois, a elite pressure fighter heavyweight, and you went through and made those same stuff and didn't learn a thing. I just don't get it. No, I do get it. This is who you are. If that's the case, so be it. But you can't beat anybody up here anymore. You have one of the greatest puncher's chances out of everybody, but as Anthony Joshua now, I'm not picking you against Cabello. I don't want to see you against Big Bang Jang, or anybody that is a competitive fervor, most of the time and others, because you make too many mistakes on your own that has you put in a bad situation. It's more than just a glass cannon. You can't protect your chin when you're trying to fight like you know you're supposed to. Tyson Fury is going to take advantage of that. And Tyson Fury can take a punch. I can guarantee that if Tyson Fury got caught by a shot by AJ, he will be able to be distinctly better off than AJ getting caught by a shot against Tyson Fury. Because we've seen Tyson Fury get up from the greatest right-handed boxer multiple times. Never been knocked out against Deontay Wilder. Got up every time he got knocked down. Ridiculous. Even against Usyk, he went through, dazed and confused, still got up and recovered, and still put on a phenomenal fight. Handling that level of danger, Tyson Fury is way better at. Tyson Fury will be able to take you into waters that not just you don't want to be in, but once you do land, you're not going to have the effect that you think, potentially. And even if you do, this brother's got recovery powers of who knows what from who knows where. He's still able to get up. And he's got more in his arsenal, defensively and offensively, in the clinch and on the feet, with his length in boxing, than you do have right now. Because if you try to fight forward against Tyson Fury, Fury can still catch you fighting backwards. But if he makes you go forward and applies more of that demonstrative walk down style that we've seen Tyson Fury garner over his career against Anthony Joshua is not really going to have an answer. He's strong, he's big, absolutely. He's not going to have an answer. Even if he has the secret to knowing how to beat Tyson Fury, I don't think he'll be able to do it, even under Usyk, because he just is not that biggest skill set, or that a lack thereof, of being able to fight without forward momentum. Anthony Joshua doesn't have what Tyson Fury does. And I guarantee you that's going to be the biggest thing in the fight. So as of this moment, I'm picking Fury to win, because this fight showed me Anthony Joshua, he didn't learn. He didn't learn. He got the win. Yes, he did. He got the knockout. But he didn't learn being a better fighter under Usyk. He didn't. I still want to see it. Prove me wrong. But he didn't learn. He just did not learn. Let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions. Joshua almost made us lose the fight again. This is why I'm upset. This is why I'm against useless tune-ups. I feel you. At this stage, yeah, it should have just been the first fight. Tune-ups are good to keep you active, and they need to make sure that you are working and doing stuff like you need to, like you're supposed to keep yourself fresh. I get that. But yeah, in certain situations, you doggone right. Yeah, it shouldn't be that we fight anybody else except for who we're supposed to take on. So I'm with you there. let me see. Imagine if this fight happened 5 years ago in their prime. This would have been an all-timer. Yes, it would have. Sadly, it would just be, sadly, this would just be seen as a Sugar Ray versus Hearns too. Now, granted, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Hearns, both of those fights were still phenomenal. Both of those fights were still huge. They were both still actually successful in their careers at that point in time. And there's a real argument. Even Leonard said, there's a real argument. Yeah, you beat me in that second fight. And it should have been 1-1 for the series. And Hearns was adamant. I'm still thinking that Leonard lost, or Leonard won to Hearns in that second fight than the first one. But I think this is different. This is different. What they were and what these two are completely different levels in their career. Even with both of them being at an advanced stage. Completely different in my eyes. And that fight still had a lot more worldwide buzz, and talent for talent was a lot more filled and full with ability on both ends of the spectrum than what we see with Fury and AJ. This is a complete shell of what we saw. Complete shell. On both sides. But even with that shell, Fury, in my opinion, is significantly better. Significantly better. Let me see. No credit away from Crawford, but that Spence fight should have happened 3 years before it actually happened. Regardless, I think Crawford beats him at that point too. I do too. But it's the fact that even if you want to say they were at the tail end of the best that they had been, again, even though Spence knocked out Ugas and Crawford knocked out Porter, I believe in the two fights before their ultimate clash, I think it would have been regardless, the same way he wins. I do, because one thing Crawford said about Errol Spence, that was right. The same stuff that he did against me, he'd been doing his entire career. And what we saw on the night with Tim Tszyu, and going back and watching the fights that we had seen with Garcia, or even the fights with Ugas, or the fights with Sean Porter, or the fight with Kell Brook, both true. Spence was doing the same stuff. He was just able to react. And be balanced, unlike what he was able to do on this night with Tim Tszyu. And so, he did do the same stuff. It just, people couldn't take advantage of it. Like with Terrence Crawford at that point in time. And then against Tim Tszyu, he just didn't have it at all going into that fight. But I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. But again, last thing about the Joshua and Poirier fight and the Fury AJ fight that we want to discuss before we move on into the show. And that is that this fight between Joshua and Fury is going to be most likely the last hurrah for both of them. I don't even think we would see Joshua or Fury fight again after this fight with AJ. I don't think we'll see. I think for both fighters, this is going to be a retirement fight. The last of a breed. Because Anthony Joshua, if he loses, well, yeah, he's done. What else do you need to do? Tyson Fury, if he loses, there will be more people in the tank for him to fight, sure. But Usyk isn't going to fight him for a third time because he's talking about fighting Deontay Wilder or John Jones. Both of those fights are real potential options that can take place. Be clear. That is not a fluke. That is real. AJ versus Wilder. Excuse me. Usyk versus Wilder and Usyk versus Jones are real fights that can potentially happen. That is not a fluke. That's actually something that can take place. I don't want it to happen. I don't need it to happen. But it's something that can happen. And because of that, also, excuse me for one moment. Hold on. I need to, gotta make sure I'm keeping myself, hydrated. But, what was I saying? Wilder and Usyk, Wilder and John Jones are the two fights that Usyk is saying he wants to fight. So Fury's not getting that third trilogy. Fury's not fighting Moses Chalmers. Fury most likely will never fight Caballero. If Caballero wins his championship, wins the WBC title in what's supposed to be his, I think, mandatory opportunity that's coming up, I think, later on this year. What else is there for him to do? The only people that were big enough for him to fight in terms of name-wise, by his own account, was Usyk. So if he doesn't have Usyk, what does he have? He's got nothing. He's got nothing. Since there's no need for him to do anything. Hence, there's no coming back. Hence, I know I'm saying hence a lot, but meaning, well, it's done. Most likely he's done. Finito. Out of here. Finished with the sport. Because I've done everything I need to do. Like going with my family and friends. If Fury and Anthony Joshua, this will most likely be their last fight. Because AJ, I don't think can beat anybody at the elite level. And Fury, unless it's Usyk, doesn't want to fight anybody at the elite level. Because they can't bring in money like Usyk. Or like AJ. I'm serious. They're not going to come back. Because they don't need to. AJ specifically shouldn't come back because there's nothing else for him to do. There's nothing else that he can do. There's no other means of him to be able to win in the coming years. Because if anything was supposed to give us hope that AJ's got a future bigger than just the last fight at this point in time with Fury, it would have been you looking dominant against Pereira. It would have been. With somebody that's wanting to fight you and somebody that's looking to push the issue and try to be a knockout puncher and come forward to you, that is less accomplished, supposedly supposed to have less skills, and you still have enough in the tank that you take him out without having to risk anything. This was the fight to show us everything to revamp yourself as a fighter. But it showed us nothing. You're still the same person. Usyk or Fury may still be the same person, but he's the same person with a higher threshold of what he still has left. AJ doesn't have that. And AJ can't beat anyone unless he goes and knocks him out because he's too vulnerable at this stage to be able to fight against people that can bring pressure to him. Fury can do that and be just fine. Fury can do that and be A-okay. Fury can do that and be just peachy king. AJ can't. So I'm strongly believing this fight's going to be the last fight between them two. Regardless of the result. especially if one of them loses. But even if Tyson Fury wins, it's going to be done. If AJ wins, it should be done. AJ might just say, hey, I still think I can do some more. See, this stuff is working. I'm telling you, no, it can't. No, it can't. No, it cannot. Because even if you watch Fury fight, well, not even, if you saw the highlights, because you couldn't see it live, of Fury's fight over in Thailand, you could clearly see if Fury fought some of these people like a Talma or like a Caballero, it would be a whole different story. Makhmudov was a fight he won, but he didn't look spectacular in doing it. And again, it was against somebody that had bad feet, a bad mover. And he was still getting caught with some flush stuff, but in the clinch, he was able to stifle and work like he wanted to. Why? Because Makhmudov wasn't nearly as sound in those other elements of boxing. On the inside, in really, really close quarters. But everybody else in this division that is up here, they are. I don't even think Fury can beat everybody, but he can definitely beat Anthony Joshua. And I guarantee you, after this, he's going to be it. He's going to be done. And he's going to walk away. If he wins, he's walking away. And the only fight he would even come back for would be Usyk. That's it. Anthony Joshua, if he wins, he better walk away. But if he doesn't, he's going to get put out and knocked out. And we can say Anthony Joshua, as a fighter, is dealing with a lot of stuff. Is dealing with a lot of adversity. We can say that he's dealing with a lot of things going on in the sport. Completely understandable. Justifiable even. Because of what again, his two best friends passed away in a crash that nearly killed him as well. Mind you, that we were feet away from having that fight being a 3x type of loss of life. All three of them could have died in that car crash. It's a shame that anybody died in that car crash. Absolutely. But dealing with the fact that your own mortality was nearly taken away and the people that you love were also taken away, that definitely breeds into the makeup of changing the psyche of a fighter, without question. And we never disrespect it. What we have to also recognize, though, is that even with that being the case, if you're choosing to step into this game, we have to be critical about where you are. I'm not saying that mental aspect is hurting you or helping. I'm not saying that wasn't a driving force to make you get this KO because you're doing it for something bigger than you. Without question, I'm not denying that. I'm also not denying that what we saw tonight, with everything taken into account, still doesn't change the fact you are in not just the last throes of your career, but regardless of where this fight goes, AJ should not fight again. He shouldn't fight again. He just shouldn't. Because unlike Fury, he doesn't have the durability, and his skill set has eroded more than Tyson Fury's at this stage in their career. It has. And I'm petrified. But that's the truth of the matter. If they fight, I'm picking Fury to win. I really am. Unless AJ all of a sudden gets it together, I'm picking Fury to win this fight. I really am. I really, really am. But we still want to hear your thoughts and opinions, and we still got so much more we can talk about on this show today. Mind you, it might be a little bit of a shorter episode than normal, only because we're trying to save some stuff for later on in the week. But we do have a whole bunch of stuff going down, like in the world outside of the heavyweight division. Keyshawn Davis, Devin Haney, their fights with each other is still in the balance because on Thursday, they are going to have a purse bid with each other. Now, granted, that was supposed to happen today. That was supposed to happen today. And some people are asking why. Some people are saying there's some drama afoot. There's some trepidation with all this stuff going down. Why isn't the purse bid being bid on? And why don't we have confirmation that everything's hunky-dory and we got the fight going down? Well, it's because they got an extension on that bid. That means Thursday is going to be the day that we see that we see Keyshawn Davis and Devin Haney go to a bidding war to see where this fight's going to land and to get the confirmation that this fight is indeed happening. That is what we're waiting on now. If this doesn't happen, though, all of a sudden that breeds a whole lot more questions than answers. Hopefully we don't even have to run into that issue. Hopefully we don't even run into that problem. And hopefully we don't get into a situation where, hey, we are indeed, wait. Sorry, I thought I was seeing some news. My apologies. I got thrown off for a second. I saw something. I saw something with news in Tyson Fury, and I thought it was something big. It was nothing. Never mind. Mulligan on my part. But I done lost my train of thought. Devin Haney, Keyshawn Davis. That's what it was. The first bid. First bid's happening on Thursday. Got an extension. Now, why they got an extension, I can read it to you in the. I think they had a whole tweet about it if I can find it. But essentially, it was requested, I think, by Keyshawn Davis' team that they moved it back up to Thursday instead of having it on Tuesday. Could that be a sign that maybe it ain't gonna be drawing as much? Maybe so, or maybe they just wanted some more time to figure some stuff out. Either way, that's what looks to be going down. And by Thursday, most likely by Friday morning, we'll have confirmation that we got that fight going under and everybody can be all ecstatic and excited about it. We still want to hear your thoughts about who you think is going to win. But in the grand scheme of things, everything right now looks to be working out like it is supposed to. But we still got more stuff that we can jump into as we got a bunch of news on this show and on today's episode. More specifically, somebody brought up Boots Ennis early, and the drama between Terrence Crawford and Boots has risen up even more so with the recent interview with Terrence Crawford talking about his fight, or rather his comparisons to Boots Ennis. More specifically, why exactly they keep on getting tied to the hip with each other, and is Boots in fact jealous of what we see with Terrence Crawford in his career, as he's always throwing jabs per Terrence Crawford's own words? And I will let Terrence Crawford tell you himself his own thoughts and opinions on that fact of the matter as we transition over into picture in picture real quick for you reviewing and listening pleasure. Let me go on and read it right now, or go on and play it right now so you can hear exactly what he had to say. But this is Terrence Crawford discussing his opinions on Boots Ennis, and specifically calling Boots Ennis a hater, with him always bringing up his name.
I feel like he's a hater.
Okay,
if I'm gonna be a 1,000%.
This is the Real Report Show. It's all good. That's what we do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
I think he's a hater.
Mm.
You know, I didn't support him in the Olympic trials. I didn't been in the locker room at his fights, you know, supporting him. So why would I need to hate on him?
Got you.
You know, like I said, I want to see him win. I want to see him go far as far as he can. I feel like, you know, Boots, a whole motion is built off of Terrence Crawford.
Mm.
He should thank me, to be honest, you know, because if there was no Terrence Crawford at this pinnacle, who would they be talking about? Who would they be comparing him with? I feel like he's a hater.
Okay. So, like, this is turned drastically into a huge situation of beef and drama between each other. First it was, hey, you can be like him. Then it was, oh, we love to see that fight. And now it's just straight up, with all the noise of Boots comparing or saying I'm the best in boxing and somewhat subtly throwing jabs at Terrence Crawford, and the fans of Boots and the fans of Crawford going at each other left, right, and center. Now, the actual fighters at play, got something to say with Terrence Crawford saying, but I think Boots Ennis is just a hater. And he should be thanking me for being where I'm at. Because if it wasn't for me being up here, you would not be compared in the way that you are, or looked at in the way that you are, with you having a beacon or standard to try to attain. Now, that's some very hot-blooded stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Hey, we got, that's some, them, this sounds like the start of a potential, real dangerous situation between a fighter that said he'd never come back and a fighter that is essentially keep on stepping on the toes of what looks to be a former idol. And if this is the case, this could lead to something major. Absolutely. I hate Boots and Bud going at it. Also, Abuka, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for showing up and showing out and tuning into our show on today. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people are looking at this as like, you know what? Why can't legends be legends? Why can't everybody just support each other? You know, the past and the present, why can't they work together? And again, credit to his credit. Crawford had been in Boots' corner, Crawford had been in the Olympic trials, just supporting him and all that stuff. And Crawford feels that Boots Ennis has been, lack of a better word, disrespectful towards him, with always feeling like jabs are being thrown my way from him about what I am and what I can do and where you are right now. In Crawford's own eyes. I can paraphrase him, but that's what essentially he's saying. We have also somewhat fed into this feud, not because we're trying to say, oh, we were or we are trying to bring him down, but the constant comparison and the constant, we need to fight, you need to fight him, you were there to potentially take him out and then you didn't. Oh, you could have, Boots could have moved up quicker to try to get a fight with Terrence Crawford. It just also doesn't hurt that when they were in a transition period, when Boots finally got to the acclaimed position of being in contention for championships, was right when Crawford was moving out of the division after Errol Spence to go and fight Madrimov at 154. So there was a situation where both of them could have fought against each other. But now, again, Crawford chasing history and Boots was still just reaching the zenith at that point in time at 147. It can get really messy, really dirty, really quickly between these two. And there's some people that are looking for this thing to bowl over into an all-out heated rivalry because they want anything to bring Terrence Crawford out of retirement. They do. Don't forget, he was just training with Lester Martinez inside the ring for Martinez's next fight. And off of just him getting in the ring and putting on gloves, everybody was saying, oh, he still got the fire. He still got the fervor. Rumors started swirling. Maybe he does really want to come back. Maybe he still feels the need to step into the ring and be active in some capacity. What better way to do that than to go step back and go after another championship? That's what the fans were saying. That's what a lot of fans were saying. And now with this, I guarantee you, people are going to be looking at this as if Boots keeps moving like he's moving, maybe he can bring Terrence Crawford out of retirement. What do you think that's a fair prediction to say? Because Crawford said he'll never come back? And I'll leave that up to your discretion. But just know, that is where a lot of people are painting this canvas of potential rivalry into. Inevitably, everybody's banking on Crawford's going to come back. Crawford's going to come out, and Crawford's going to say, I'm going to shut this guy up. And knowing Crawford is not out of the realm of possibility due to what we know Crawford is about, which is fighting and respect. And it don't take much to get Crawford upset. Just like what we said with Shakur and Keyshawn Davis, all Keyshawn got to do is push the right buttons and say the right thing. And I guarantee you that blood feud or that blood bond will turn into a blood feud and they'll be wanting to fight each other. And for Crawford, they proved everything that he wanted to. Absolutely, without question. But if we see Boots say the right thing at the right time, with the most blatant disrespect possible. There's a real world where Crawford would be like, you know what, okay. All right, you really want me to come back? I'll come back. And I'm going to show you exactly why you ain't what you think. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not even saying that's what I want to happen. I'm simply saying that is what the public is banking on. And that's why they keep asking these questions. They're not asking this stuff just out of comparison to say, oh, Boots is like you, or Boots can be like you, or Boots and you were tied at the hip, and don't you like what you're seeing? I guarantee you there's these questions and this topic of conversation consistently gets brought up in part because they want to see them fight. They do. And right now, all this animosity is making the fans further believe we may get this fight. So, it's getting more and more. And this is the most blatant version of shots at Boots that we've seen Crawford take thus far in this whole slow building role of what seems to be a degrading in beef between the two, or rather an elevation in beef between the two. It's the most blatant reason. This is the most blatant situation we've seen of Crawford just saying, no, he's a hater. So don't be surprised this elevates. Do not be surprised at all if this elevates forward more and more. Let me see. Remember Bud tried to negotiate during the BOK Prime situation, but Team Boots didn't make the jump. You know what? I actually don't recall that. That's news to me. You mean to tell me, again, this is news to me, this is true. You mean to tell me that when Crawford fought David Avanesian on BOK Prime, Boots was also in a position to potentially fight on BOK Prime against Crawford and didn't jump to take that opportunity? If that is the case, that's incredibly interesting. Hey, that's incredibly interesting. That is, oh my. That is incredibly, I did not know that. Let me see. What did Boots say to make Bud say he's a hater? Last thing I heard Boots say about him was that he's retired and let him enjoy retirement. I think there was something. I think there was something that Boots said. I can't exactly remember it. That what spurred it. But I think it was, Boots did say something over the course of the last week or two that was kind of a subtle thing at Terrence Crawford. Again, if I'm misremembering, I do apologize. I can't remember the exact thing, but I do believe it was something that was a straight, like, okay, that had to be against Terrence Crawford. And then Crawford took it as, yeah, it is. And hence why he said what he said. Because mind you, Crawford doesn't be saying stuff like that unless somebody directly said something to him. He don't be saying something like that unless somebody goes straight out and has something to say against him by name. Legit. And so because of that, I'm at a loss for words. I'm very much like in shock somewhat at this whole situation. Only because this is the most close we've seen them actually squaring off in a war of words. Honestly now it's got me wanting to see that fight. Crazy enough, even though I know Crawford's retired, we don't need to see it. But I wouldn't be mad. I think most of the public wouldn't be mad, especially with what we see right now. If we had that fight potentially at 160 between them two going at each other. Let me see. Yes, even on YouTube, Bozy Ennis is on camera confirming Team Crawford reached out, but Team Boots was loyal to Showtime. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, all right. And so that's why that fight never took place. And dang. Now, see, I get it because maybe, again, not just because of loyalty, but maybe they didn't trust the likes of BOK as a real reputable boxing entity? Yeah, sure, Crawford's doing it, but do we really want to take that chance? Maybe not. I can somewhat see the business side as to why, yeah, we'll stay over here. But still, it was on the table. It could have been made to happen. It just didn't. It really didn't. And I'm so, dang it. Shoot, we really could have had that fight. Regardless of which, outside of the daydreaming of the potential, this is turning into a real beef. This is turning into a real foundation for Boots to say something to make Crawford come out of retirement. Because, let's be honest, if it wasn't Janibek, who initially was going to be the guy that Crawford wanted to fight for 4-time undisputed, and when Janibek left, also with the sanctioned body situation, yeah, I'm gone as well. The only thing that can bring Boots out of retirement, really, if we really wanted to say it, would be somebody straight up disrespecting him. It would be. It would be somebody straight up getting Crawford to say, I got to defend my pride. Because pride is a huge aspect of who Terrence Crawford is. The one thing Terrence Crawford isn't is somebody that runs away from a fight. The one thing Terrence Crawford isn't is a punk when it comes to somebody trying to disgrace his name. Even with the legacy that he has established, yes, people are going to say things and the fans are going to say something and have something to say all the time. You'll never give me the full respect because you always bring up something. Yes, that is true. But that's from the fan perspective. From the fighter perspective, now it's turning into, okay, you talking all that smack and you still fighting. Now, I'm not fighting fans, but I'll fight you if you really want to go down this road. And all we got to do is see Boots. I think somebody said it on that same clip in a tweet. Somebody reposted it, I think said, all we got to have now is Boots Ennis straight up calling, I'm going to use the word punk, or rather, I'm going to use the word bum, but the word ain't bum that Boots needs to use. But all he's got to do is take something like that said to the likes of Crawford and then follow it up with, if you think I'm wrong in calling you that, we'll come in the ring and do something about it. That will be the thing that will be like, okay, bet. Yeah, I'll take you out. Because now you call me that. Like I said, it ain't bum. It's the other word. It's the other one. You call me that. And then you say, come do something about it. All right, I'll do something about it. That would be the only way I could see him coming out and saying, okay, I got to handle some business and we got to go fight again. But that is the way that I guarantee if Boots went that route, okay, we can finally get that fight to happen. Because now it's gotten to a point where it's gotten more personal than just surface level. Y'all think he's better than me. Y'all think he would have beaten me. Okay, cool. That's whatever. But now he's feeling like Boots himself is the one that's disrespecting him. Now it's turning into, okay, we got a personal problem. And Crawford's quick to settle stuff like that. His words, not mine, because he's been somebody who wants to move like that. But let me keep on reading. Let me see. Truth, how you doing? Good to see you. Salute to you. Thank you for showing up and tuning in on our live stream today. Bud hating on Boots. I mean, you could argue Bud may be hating on Boots as well. I think Bud's been fighting a lot of outside, I don't want to say criticism, but there's been a lot of Bud fans that have been trying to put, not Bud fans, there's been a lot of Boots fans that have been trying to put Bud and Boots against each other. And a lot of social media talk has been Boots will beat the brakes off of Bud if they had actually fought against each other. Not necessarily Crawford going against them, but it's Boots fans, again, fans of the fighter, have been the ones really fueling this type of conversation. Whether you think that's right or wrong, that's just what's been going down. And so he's been fighting a lot of that noise. Again, this is the first time that he's gone at Boots directly. I'm not sure exactly what Boots said, but I believe it was something that was said over a week ago. Just know, Crawford wouldn't call out Boots directly as a hater unless something was done in a hateful manner by Boots. Because he hasn't been doing that his entire career. That's been how he normally keeps to himself. So, I need to find out what he said. Just know, this is starting to snowball over. Let me see. Boots got to call him out by name. I hope he does. I mean, at this point, that's the most logical step. At this point, that is the most logical step that we could see take place for what we can see happen. And again, if you didn't want to hear the rest, to see the rest of what he had said in terms of Terrence Crawford, Crawford had said against Boots, I feel like Boots' whole motion, or excuse me, here we go. I feel like Boots' whole motion is built off of Terrence Crawford. He should thank me. We aren't cool because I feel like he's a hater. What do I have to hate on him for? I want to see him go as far as he can. For him to say I'm easy, for him to say I'm easy work is disrespectful. Okay, so that's what got him. Boots, in some interview that Crawford caught wind of, said that Terrence Crawford would be easy work. Crawford is saying for him to say that to me, that's disrespectful. But your whole mode of flow is built on you being compared to me. Because be clear, let's call a spade as well. You ain't done work remotely close to Terrence Crawford or anybody else right now of the best in the world. If we're going to go from a resume standpoint, that has been the biggest issue. You just had your biggest fight. It's getting the biggest push, but you sure enough are not as accomplished as anybody else that you've been compared to, Roy Jones or otherwise. And so to say that Terrence Crawford, again, is easy work, because this is what Terrence Crawford is saying he found disrespectful. You can't really talk like that if you've been somebody that hasn't even moved in a manner of success remotely close to me. Remotely close. With caliber of talent and the accolades involved. Coupled with the skill set that I showed. You ain't nowhere close to that. And I've been trying to be in your corner. But you trying to come at me like this? What I do to deserve that level of disrespect? What's the point? This is what spurred the conversation. This is what spurred Crawford getting upset. And Boots, in part, is feeding into this feud because of saying stuff like this. Now it's gone from just the fodder of fandom into the fighter themselves buying into that idea. Yeah, you would be Crawford easy. Yeah, it'd be light work for him. Oh, you wouldn't be, you can handle him with the greatest of ease. If y'all had ever fought, y'all would be able to take, not just blow the roof off the place, you would have knocked him out without any trouble. And now Boots and that fandom is starting to buy into the idea. Just like Gervonta Davis, because of his fans, was buying into the fact that I'm the best in the world and I hadn't done nothing to even get that title. This is a story we've seen before. And it's a story that we're seeing now. And it's a story that, as you can read, this is the issue at hand. And now this is laying the foundation for why I say Crawford might come back. Because if you saying I'm easy, and then you come up again, you straight up say, if you don't think that's the case, come do something about it. But if you're not, you a bum. But again, replace the word bum with another word that starts with B. And now you got yourself a perfect storm to get Crawford to come out of retirement. Because now, okay, you crossed the line. We got to go and shut you up. Because Crawford will do that. So, as many people have said, this fight might not ever happen. We may just be in the throes of a potential situation that we could have that fight take place? And if so, hey, I'm all for it. I'm telling you, I'm all for that fight if it does take place. Let me see. Honestly, I don't want to see a 38-year-old retired Bud come out of retirement to fight Boots. Last time we saw Bud, he fought at 168. Boots is 154. There's a lot of problems with that fight. There might be. At the same breath, we would assume 160 would be the even playing ground. We would assume. And again, if Tim Tszyu is fluctuating between 154 and 160, Terrence, I would drastically feel that 160 would be a easy weight for not just Boots to make, but also it would be a weight for that Crawford can come back down to. Because he looked good he looked great at 168. 160, I don't think it'll be a situation where he will be weight drained per se. If that fight did happen and occur down there. Because he would still be drastically above what he'd been fighting his entire career, which was 154. For the big chunk, 135. Big chunk, 135. It may seem like logistically there may be some problems when it comes to the weight, but I don't think practically with who these fighters are, and again, Crawford, at this point in time, it would be a year out the ring, still following in the same pattern of what we had seen with Terrence Crawford before, where he only fights one time a year to give his body a full chance to recover. He would still be in that green window of, okay, this is how I go through and prepare from a resting standpoint. Now, if it gets to 2 years, okay, we might have a problem. But in the whole, we're still in that green window of if it does happen soon, we could see something shake up. We could. And with them still being in the gym, with them still actively training with the likes of Lester Martinez and others, helping some of Bomac's fighters out and not being so out the ring that he isn't active. And again, following that same one-time-a-year fight moniker that he had been taking on over the last 2 to 3 years of his career. I think it's more favorable than you think. That this thing heated up immensely more. And we were those in reality that fight could actually happen. It could take place. It really could. It really could. And again, I want to see it because just the fact that we can finally have it happen. And if we saw Crawford beat Boots at 38 years old, after a retirement, after Boots just had the best win of his career, there was somebody, I can't remember who. Was it Zab Judah? Or was it Timothy Bradley? I can't exactly recall. But there's somebody said straight up, there's a prominent actual boxing face. If we saw Terrence Crawford beat Boots Ennis right now, and that fight actually took place, and he won, they would call him the greatest fighter to ever live. Not my words. But that is the gravity of potential legacy that could be added. If he beat Boots, while Boots is directly in his prime, at 38 years old, to potentially take Boots' championships, even without being 4-time undisputed, they would call Terrence Crawford the greatest fighter of all time if that happened. They would. That is, if he lost, he still wouldn't be affected. Because his legacy is already set. He's one of the 10 greatest fighters I've ever seen. But if he did win this fight, it would be historic that people would be putting him in calibers of now Sugar Ray Robinson. Again, their words, not mine, but that's what they would be saying. Roy Jones Jr., their words, not mine, but that's what they would be saying. There's a wide populace of people that would look at Terrence Crawford as potentially the greatest fighter ever if he went and not just became two-time undisputed, not just decimate Errol Spence Jr., not just go undefeated for 3 years at welterweight. 16 fights, 16 knockouts. Excuse me, longer than 3 years. 2016 to 2023. 16 straight KOs at one of the deepest divisions of boxing. Taking out Hall of Fame names, and then now you beat Boots, who was coming up when you were at the top, and now he's at the top when you're out the sport, and you come back and you beat him while he's in his prime. There would be people that would be saying, okay, there's no fighter I've seen that's better than him. Because this brother was being compared to Roy Jones and was seen as the best athletic talent we had ever seen. At the peak of his powers, with now the fight experience of being in an elite caliber fight under his belt with Xander Zayas, and you went and you took him out, yeah, I don't know what to say. That legacy's still there. That legacy is still on the table. And if that legacy did happen, oh gosh, that'd be insane. Let me see. I don't think the fight takes place. It's crazy after all these years. So many, but excuse me. It's crazy after all these years. So many don't understand Bud's competitive itch. Yeah. That's the thing. It's not likely. But that itch is still there. Again, it's because of the quote. Crawford said, Boots said I would be easy. That's incredibly disrespectful. I've been in your corner this entire time. Why what's the need? You feeling high off of your own supply. And that fan noise is getting to your head. Don't think stuff is still sweet. Because there's a reason why you weren't in my league when I was in my prime and you were 25-0, 26-0, putting people out, but nobody even, they said that would be a good fight, but you ain't ready for me. I'll ruin you. There's a reason. Again, in Crawford's mind, I promise you, this would be a huge fight. And this would be a lot of bad blood. And it's the tale of essentially the new lion feeling himself because of the just gained pride rock. He just got land. He just got the praise. He just got all the aura. And now he's saying that people would be, that are better than him, that were greater than him, would be easy work. Feeding into the fandom that he has, but disrespecting the people that were coming before. Seemingly without out the blue. So I guarantee you, Crawford, he feels some type of way. And he will push that button if he gets provoked. And that's why I'm saying all Boots got to say is the right stuff. All Boots has to say is the right stuff. And I guarantee you Crawford will come out. I guarantee he'll come out of retirement. Let me see. Boots would beat Bud, or Boots would beat the mess out of Bud at this point. If that fight happened, he would likely be 39 and out the ring 2+ years at that point. He would. He would. He absolutely would. And Bud would be out the ring. But I don't think Bud would have been out of practice in the same way that we fear. Bud would have been potentially 2 years out the ring. But I think he's even talked about he's still training and working. And unlike Spence that we had seen, it's not nearly as so far gone from not touching the sport at all. Coupled with the fact it would line up in at least some capacity with how Crawford had been preparing himself in boxing over the last 3 years while he was active, only fighting once a year and taking a whole year to get his body ready and then going in, okay, now it's time to train for the fight after I've gotten myself and body prepped and ready. I wouldn't be surprised we may see a world where Terrence Crawford is already potentially back just getting his body ready just in case we do need to go and handle this. I wouldn't be surprised. Knowing him, because he just can't stay out the gym. This isn't like Errol Spence where, yeah, I'm putting this all aside and I'm not touching nothing for 3+ years. He still is in it. He still is. He still is. So this, I'm telling you, is just potential. But my gosh, it's a lot higher potential than what we have seen in the past of what we can see this fight actually happen. I don't think that fight ever happens at this point. Ship has sailed a few years ago, and that's fair. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. It's not about, again, the whole point of this new feud is how we got here. And we could have had this earlier to answer these questions. The biggest selling point of this whole beef now is the fact that, okay, Crawford's at a point that people would still view him today as the best person in boxing if he was still active. Boots just got to where he wanted to be, which was seen as one of the future as one of the faces of the sport. Right now, this fight is a fight that we wanted to happen, and the fans are clamoring for. And the fact that we've now had a potential where closer than ever, we've seen both of them throw jabs at each other directly in a way that wasn't done when they were both active. Crawford being fresh out of retirement gives fans some hope. Maybe we can still make stuff shake. Boots being at his prime would say maybe you're now ready for what we see now with the greatness that is Terrence Crawford. Maybe. All I know is that when dealing with this potential of a fight, everything may be hearsay or just hype and we'll never actually see it happen. If it wasn't for Terrence Crawford's temper, if it wasn't for how quickly Terrence Crawford is wanting to jump and shut somebody up, because we've seen this brother be hot every chance we get. I don't say that in a bad way, unlike I've said with others. I've said that that is what his whole life has been. I'm not going to give you the chance to run your mouth and say something about me. We're going to settle this now, today, and do what we need to do. Y'all said Errol Spence was better than me. I went to Bob Arum thinking we could get that fight made and settled today. It didn't work out, but we still kept on pushing because I want that conversation put to bed as quickly as possible because you're running your mouth too much for my liking to think that you can handle this. Thinking you can handle what I got to offer. Think you can beat me. This brother's still wrestling Devin Haney. He's still trying to get Andre Ward to play fight with him. But I guarantee you, if you put them in the ring with each other, even in a play fight situation, it'll turn real quick. Because Crawford, we said one thing about Mike Tyson, that Mike Tyson can't really play. When he was coming up and getting ready to fight the likes of Ward Jones Jr. for his comeback fight, it was supposed to be a fight that was take it to him easy. We're just having fun. He couldn't fight, but just actually going at it. Ward Jones even said it himself. Brother, I don't know what the type of event this was. Mike Tyson was coming in trying to kill me. I had to actually be on my A game, the best of my ability at this stage in life, because this cat was actually trying to hurt me. It wasn't we're just trying to be lax and cool. We've seen him even out and about. He can have fun, but playing, that switch will flip in a heartbeat from, okay, we getting serious now, because I can't really play. Terrence Crawford in some ways is that same way. I can joke around. I can be funny. But when it comes to fighting, I can't play. At some point, ain't no messing around. Whether you want to or not, I'm flipping that switch and we going for real in some capacity. And with Boots, especially now, he's already flipped one level or one lever of anger in Terrence Crawford because you went out and said you would say Crawford would be easy work, which Crawford found disrespectful. Now, Crawford, who already just got done training with Lester Martinez in the ring, putting in rounds with him, I guarantee you he is not too out of practice to say, give me a year, like I did with Canelo. I'll be ready to take you, and I will shut you up like I've shut everybody else up who thought they could just talk their talk against me and be A-okay, because this ain't what you think. Especially in a lack of camaraderie between Boots and Bud, because there's no friendship there. There's no loyalty there. There's no barrier like with Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis. There's no friendship or blood bond or absolute mentor type sentiment that he has against him. There's none of that with him. I hope you succeed. That's it. I can't wait to see how far you grow. That's it. But I'm not the one giving you, like with Shakur, telling you what to do. This is the best way to do it. All this stuff you're learning from me directly. This ain't that type of game. If you fail, you fail. If you succeed, you succeed. I wish for the best, but it is what it is. That's what it's like with Boots. You were my up at one point in time that we potentially could have had. There ain't no kumbaya level sentiment. There's no buddy here. We can get this going real quick because I ain't got no qualms or no attachment to hold myself back from saying, okay, hey, for me, do I want to risk it? If I say yes, well, okay, it's game over then. I'm coming back. And and boxing of recently has been kind of like WWE. We've seen Tyson Fury retire 5 times, but then come back. There's always a chance to come back in boxing. There's always a chance to come back in boxing. No matter how you feel, there's always a chance to come back in boxing. Because there's always money to be made. George Foreman came back. Manny Pacquiao came back. Off of a 15 and 7 year layoff, respectfully. We've seen Tyson Fury retire, come back, retire, and come back. 2 years out the ring. I'm back, I'm fighting. 4 years out the ring because he was battling depression in the center of his prime. After just beating Klitschko. Suicidal thoughts he was able to beat and overcome in one of the greatest wins, regardless of in the ring or out the ring, of being able to live the fight and literally live another day. We applaud that to Kingdom Come. He was 4 years out the ring roughly before he came back into boxing and became heavyweight champion again. This is not a new story that we've seen. But the elites of the elites are the only ones that can make that story have an ending where it was worthwhile. This is what Terrence Crawford is built as. He's not damaged goods. He still is, at 38 years old, we were saying he was the best fighter in the world. He could potentially get back in the gym like he did for Canelo, take a year, and get back to that type of form. Because he hasn't been bodily damaged. Mentally, he's still all there. Physically, he's perfectly healthy. And has been taking care of himself for the past 8 years at a whole different rate, in a good way. There's a world we can see this happen. I promise you, I guarantee you, as unlikely as it may seem, it's a world we can see this fight take place. It's a lofty goal, but do not rule it out. Because Boots is a hot-headed brother. Boots is a very cocky brother that will cash checks with his mouth, that he is completely confident he'll be able to go and pass them through because he's just that good. And Crawford is a hot-headed brother that will be quick to jump against disrespect and take you out if you keep on talking in a way that pushes him to a limit. That, okay, it's time to settle this. It's time to settle it. And we'll put this to bed right now. I guarantee you. Watch within the next coming months what exactly unfolds with this. Because Boots is going to get asked about this. Boots is going to get asked about this very conversation. Crawford's response. And he going to say either two things. No disrespect, or I said what I said. And if it goes into I said what I said, and if he don't like it, do something about it. At that point in time, just sit back and wait. Just sit back and wait. That's all you got to do. At that point in time, just sit back and wait. Because the only thing Crawford's going to say, do not lose that title. And I'll see you down the line. The next thing you know, he's training. He's back with Bomac. And he's back in boxing just for that fight. And we'll get it. It may not seem like it, but we can get it. I can guarantee you. But because we got to go, we want to make sure that we're at the 2-hour mark. We want to make sure we have everybody be able to talk about whatever they want to discuss, because it is still the championship rounds in the world of boxing and beyond, as we're still covering, allowing you all to have your thoughts and opinions be heard and felt for the masses to hear and see all around the globe. We're going to say some stuff for Thursday afternoon because of not just the Keyshawn Davis stuff that can take place, but also the with the purse bid, but also I got some topics I wanted to save for the middle of the week to kind of give a difference of a different look to put into the show, to how this thing's going to go. So we're going to say that for a little bit. So we might cut this show a little bit shorter than normal, but I do want to give you time to have some thoughts and opinions in the championship rounds, to be able to give your debates, your conversations, your takes on anything involving the world of boxing and beyond. Whether it's the NBA, whether it's the NFL, whether it's the movie, sports, television, video games, all that stuff, we want to hear from you. And if you got something to say, great. We would love to have it in the chat down below. If not, though, we'll let you go through and have yourself a phenomenal time, and we'll get ready for Thursday afternoon. While you're getting your questions ready, I'll hit one last point that I have on my show, which is the fight between that is coming up, not just William Zepeda and Lamont Roach. Actually, no, yeah, William Zepeda and Lamont Roach, that's happening in a couple weeks, and Ryan Garcia and Conor Ben, that's happening down the line in, was it September? I think it's October. I think it's either September or October. It's either September or October, one of those two. Either way, with these fights coming up, Zepeda versus Lamont, do not be surprised if Zepeda gets made to look completely levels below Lamont Roach. I'm prepping you all to understand. Zepeda is going to be a fighter that is going to be a lot of volume, but he is going to get outboxed, I believe, by Lamont when they fight against each other. Thursday will give you more details on exactly why, but I'm telling you, Lamont Roach is going to show that those two draws against Tank and Isaac Cruz are elevating him into a different stratosphere of ability. Wait, that fight is weak. Wait a minute. Oh, that fight is weak. Wait a minute. That fight's this. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on a second. Let me see. I'm checking the zone right now. Hold on. Doggone it, you right. Shoot. Oh, no. I messed up. I'm so sorry. I messed up with my schedule for what the boxing world was having coming down the line. Thank you for telling me, Albuga. Thank you for letting me know that fight is this week. My apologies. William Zepeda versus Lamont Roach is this week for the lightweight championship at 135 with a voluminous puncher in the likes of Zepeda and a very technically sound and elevated talent with his last two fights with Isaac Cruz and Tank in Lamont Roach. Can he get a draw yet again? Or will he finally be able to get over the hump and get this victory outright? I still believe my sentiments. He's going to get this win outright. I think he's going to outbox. I do not think William Zepeda's volume is going to affect Lamont Roach as badly as some people may feel with them getting outworked and outscored. I think we're going to deal with the situation where the Lamont Roach, because he'll feel the power of Zepeda and won't feel like, oh, I need to worry. He's not going to just, I'm not saying he's going to walk into shots, but he is going to try to go, most likely, time, trade, and out punch with power the likes of Zepeda. Look to land very much thudding shots, or just move backwards. Do what he did against Eastside Cruz and try to fight with his legs, going and punching in spurts, and then boom, angling back out. One of those two is going to happen. But I guarantee you, he's going to beat William Zepeda. And I think it's going to be by unanimous decision. And I think he's going to perform and do more damage than you all may see. And if he gets a win here, believe for a championship, this would set him up for big-time fights. Big-time fights at 135. And potentially 140. Depending on where he wants to fluctuate up. And I'll be down for it without question. Let me see. And Murataya versus Conceição was on the same card. That's for a belt too. Yeah, they're both for the belt. And I wouldn't be surprised. Since Shakur isn't taking a fight with Murataya, and Murataya beat Andy Cruz, Abdullah Mason's not going to be fighting one of them, most likely. It would be. This would set up a perfect fight between both of them. If Murataya and Lamont win on the same night, it would set up a perfect opportunity to have Murataya versus Lamont Roach for the unified titles at 135. It would make all the sense in the world. Both of those fights are going to be good. Specifically, that Murataya fight, I think is going to be better than the fight with Lamont Roach and Zepeda. I think so, because it's Conceição. That man, he's had some controversial losses against elite competition. Shakur beat him up, absolutely. But outside of that, everybody else has been close. Conceição is an incredibly tough fight. So hard to beat. So hard to beat. And Murataya might be in for a very tough outing. Tougher than we may expect. It might be tough in the same way that we saw Andy Cruz be tough for him. It could be. It very well could be. But if he wins this fight and we see Lamont Roach win his fight, it makes sense that we get a unification. It would be two of some of the biggest names that we have in that division, with Murataya getting his name out there on his own with his wins against Andy Cruz and now Conceição. Lamont Roach off the backs of still the momentum of being in the ring with Eastside Cruz and Tank. Not losing, but not winning either. Having everybody wanting to be intrigued. Can you finally set your feet on solid grounds of victory at this elite level at 135? When we say that you belong up here, can you finally show that you can win up here? You got yourself you have yourself a perfect match of good fight, great names, titles on the line, and a shakeup in this division for who may be seen as the new leader of this division at 135. And then they face off against Abdullah Mason. Perfect storm. Or down the line, after probably a fight or two with Abdullah Mason, then they go and get a fight made to unify 3 of the 4 belts. Perfect. I don't want to see it. But that night, it's going to be a massive quality night of boxing, specifically with the co-main and the main event. But I believe Lamont Roach is the main event, and Murataya is the co-main event on the night, if I have the card correct. If not, please correct me. Absolutely. But that's what I see going down. Again, I got Murataya beating Conceição, and I have Lamont Roach beating Zepeda. I'm very interested, though. Conceição might be able to get that upset. something's telling me Conceição might give this fight a real scare for anybody who wants to have Murataya and Lamont as a fight matchup. Something's telling me that Conceição might give Murataya a real scare going into this fight. And even if I'm saying it's going to be a tough fight, I might be undermining exactly how good Conceição can be on this night. Because he can, I'm telling you, I've seen that man fight against elite people. And outside of Shakur, every time it's been this brother almost pulled it out. 1 or 2 rounds away from getting the victory. Don't be surprised if we see that same fight again on that night. And it's going to be make for a great night of action. I can't wait to see it. But again, is there anything else anybody wants to say on the show? Any other takes that anybody wants to get into? Like I said, we're going to have a more robust show on Thursday with the topics we're going to be bringing on discussion. We want to make sure we cover you all and your opinions and thoughts on whatever. But if you have nothing else to say, and if you're good to go, we can get ready to wrap this show up and send it home and get on out of here. I'm actually incredibly hungry, and I need to get some food in me, so I probably might just go and try to get something to eat after this. Who knows where I may want to go? If anybody wants to fund my lunch today, hey, we got Cash App and PayPal. Links down below in the description. Just jokes, just having fun. We're just having fun and joking around. But in all seriousness, though, if nobody else has anything they want to say, we're ready to show up and send it home, and I'm going to go get me something to eat. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for tuning in and listening to the Welch Report with me, John Welch. We're going to get out of here and end this show off with a bang. So here we go. We appreciate all of you tuning in and joining in on our live stream edition of the Welch Report with me, your host, John Welch, on this Tuesday afternoon. We thank you all for showing up and being a phenomenal audience. We hope you had a phenomenal time, and we hope you had a whole bunch of fun right here on our show. Please be sure, if you would, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be a part of our community. Join this empire and come on and join our conglomerate of a great show on the day. Go ahead and hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube, so you never miss a moment of what we have going on our show today. Leave a like on the video. 1 like makes a world of difference to make this show oh so special, oh so great, oh so grand, and help us to reach the masses all across the globe. And please rate us 5 stars on every podcasting platform imaginable. That's Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. And please be sure to share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. Thank you to everybody who came in and supported and chatted on our live stream. You all were a great audience. And one last shameless plug, if you want to support the channel monetarily, we have Cash App and PayPal. Links down below in the description. Super chats, super gifts, stickers, and the like. Jewels and all, rubies and all that stuff that you can give to the show to help us invest into this show and make it better for you, the listener and viewer, and help me pay some bills on the side as well as to pay the bills on the main side as well. Because we got to make that bread, buddy. We got to make them dineros. Absolutely. But I've been John Luke Welch. You all have been absolutely wonderful. Be safe. Be blessed. Peace and love. We are out of here. Yes, sir. Salute to you. We're going to see you on Thursday afternoon. Be safe. Be blessed. Have a wonderful time. And we are out of here.